respected criminologist here with us today. Jason Fraser is the country rep of the USAID. Thank you very much, and looking forward to hearing their presentations later today. At this time, I'm going to invite Alison Peart, the president of AmCham of Jamaica, to give the official welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. You know, we look so officious and so quiet. It's very, very important business, but I'm hoping today you're going to learn a lot more. You're going to leave here understanding more about some of the issues and, more importantly, with some solutions. Because it's one thing to speak about our issues, but if we don't find a solution, we're just a talk shop. And I love Nationwide on the radio, but we don't just want to talk. We want to come up with some solutions. So as the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Jamaica, we thought it very important. We talk about how wonderful the economy was. Our last session was business unusual. But if we have crime issues, if people don't feel, Jamaicans don't feel comfortable going about their daily lives, if our foreign investors don't feel comfortable, if our children, who are our future, have issues, where are we as a nation? So we thought it very important to bring together a panel that would engage in the dialogue about crime, corruption, criminal justice. How does it affect our trade and investment? Because it makes no sense to talk about our GDP growing or our debt to GDP if we're dying. It makes no sense if our future is tied to crime. So this dialogue is very, 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 very important, and I'm very happy you're here with us.
Okay, the question today is how much crime and corruption and a dysfunctional justice system are actually inhibiting the development of Jamaica and inward investment. Because we don't just have one problem, we have quite a complex array of problems. And it's quite hard to know how much we should attribute to any one of these and how much any one of these is contributing to what has historically been a very low rate of growth and significant difficulties in attracting inward investment and retaining domestic capital and retaining human capital. These are the headline ones. We have one of the highest rates of violence in the world. We have a large number, a significant number of gangs. About 80% of our homicide are gang-related. The rest are primarily domestic violence. So the fact that we have a large number of gangs is clearly a major factor in maintaining one of the world's highest levels of homicide. There are fundamental challenges still in our system of governance. As I'll be going on to say in a few minutes, we have people in public life who help to create this problem with gangs and high levels of violence, and that link has never been yet severed, and that is still a challenge that we have yet to face. What, of course, that does is it undermines the moral authority of government. If you have a situation where all the bad guys are out there and everybody in government is honest and competent, it's not really very difficult to deal with the problems of crime. The problem is when the boundaries between the two are blurred and when you have criminals who are getting high-level political protection. At that point, it's much, much harder to deal with the issues. Of course, what that feeds is a culture of cynicism, low trust, and that has a great deal to do with sustaining a high level of violence. In any country where you see that people do not trust the police and do not trust the justice system, they're much more likely to have recourse to violence to solve their issues and disputes. So it's partly reflecting the fact that we've still got deep weaknesses in our system of governance. But let's put this in a little context. There's only one demographic for whom violence is the leading cause of premature morbidity, which is young males, late teens, early 20s. For every other demographic, it's actually cheeseburgers that are more likely to kill you. We've got issues with, like every other country, with steeply rising rates of non-communicable diseases. And we can't also forget the fact that we have perennial challenges with energy security, increasingly with water security, which is related, because years ago we made the decision that everybody must be on a piped water supply. which means that we're now committed to a program of pumping water up hillsides, which means that if our energy system goes down, our water system goes down too. In hindsight, perhaps that wasn't a very good decision. So we've got issues with energy, water security, and more generally food and access to resources. We live in a seismically active part of the world. We live in the hurricane belt. There's challenges with emerging exotic diseases, and of course we've got the background issue really serious now, as people have started to realize with climate change. You may have heard that this summer is the hottest ever recorded in Jamaica's history. And in fact, there's now real grounds for concern that we've gone past an irrevocable point, and that we will not ever revert back to the low temperatures of the past. So this is something that we may now have to make a permanent adjustment to.
Dodgen Global offers a CPA scholarship program to team members who join our team. A career in accountancy at Dodgen Global is a great choice and can offer you excellent job prospects. We believe that an accounting education is the greatest gift you can give yourself or anyone else. Few gifts make as significant an impact as the gift of an accountancy education with a job. It's a contribution that lasts a lifetime in the form of learning, opportunity, and success. Join our team and get the opportunity to be part of our CPA scholarship program. This scholarships awards program will be administered by the HR department of Dodgen Global. Requirements: first degree in accounting, employed at Dodgen Global, willing to pursue the CPA examination. Here's how to apply. Submit application to Staff Accountant, Dodgen Global, email sa@dodgen.com.
One of our highest priorities of the U.S. government in Jamaica is to work with our counterparts to interdict Jamaican and Caribbean-based transnational criminal activity, including narcotics and arms trafficking, trafficking in persons, and financial fraud targeting U.S. citizens. The U.S. government has also invested heavily in supporting anti-corruption initiatives with the civil society and Jamaican government, as well as supported improvements in the justice system. In total, the U.S. government invests about $12 million in security-related programming annually, which does not include all the various partnerships and collaborations that our various U.S. government agencies have with their counterparts. In fact, USA Jamaica just advertised a broad agency announcement to co-design our flagship community violence prevention activity with key stakeholders such as the government, academia, and private sector. This unique co-creation approach encourages key stakeholders to co-create and deliver the services that are vital to prevent youth crime and violence at the community level. Law enforcement and criminal justice are important to controlling crime, as we all know, and corruption. But we also have to address the underlying social challenges that both cause and contribute to crime. Within the broad range of U.S. cooperation on crime, and this is where USAID comes in, we partner with the government and civil society on a range of programs to address the root causes of crime in Jamaica. So in the area of community safety and security, and building upon past successes with community-based policing, USAID focuses on the strengthening of community-based and civil society organizations, the promotion of community-driven activities, the development of long-term champions of a culture of lawfulness, and the enhancement of ministries, departments, and agencies of the state to be more community-oriented institutions. In this way, we believe that we contribute to building safer communities, strengthening social cohesion, and improving civic engagement participation. USAID also works with holistic youth-friendly approaches that aims to assist at-risk youth in becoming active citizens through the engagement of different social, educational, behavioral, and recreational activities. This approach includes three main areas regarding youth involved in criminality: prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation, including diversion activities as alternatives to traditional incarceration for first-time offenders. Youth also develop skills through educational programs which introduce them to fundamental concepts in business, economics, individual accountability, and entrepreneurship. USAID expects that life skills and technical training will increase opportunities for at-risk youth to work within the legitimate economy, thereby reducing the likelihood of involvement in gang and criminal activity. In Jamaica, relationships with key public sector, private sector, and donor agency partners are being leveraged to create programs to build skills and to identify work options for youth. USAID also works in the youth remandee centers, which includes case management follow-up to facilitate at-risk youth acquiring job and education opportunities when they are released. In the area of corruption, the Combating Corruption in Jamaica project has not only built public demand for more effective action against corruption through awareness campaigns, but has also provided training to government and civil society partners to build capacity and increase advocacy. The project is expected to have an impact on the nation's capacity and the ability to effectively control instances of and attitudes towards corruption in general and political corruption in particular. So what's the role of the private sector in addressing the root causes? That's why we're all here today. Many of you are representing private sector organizations. How can the private sector be a key partner in addressing some of these root causes? Obviously, many of you are part of the community, and so you have an interest. Your companies are often affected by the high rates of crime and corruption. So it's important that government, international partners who support government, NGOs, and the private sector work together to address these issues. We've all been to various forums on issues surrounding crime in Jamaica. I think the private sector here needs to continue to ask itself what it is doing to address the issue. Clearly, advocacy is important to press for resources, accountability, and support in combating crime. But there's much more that can be done to invest in communities to make them safer and create opportunities for the next generation to be prosperous. Looking ahead, we welcome the opportunity to increase our engagement with the private sector on these challenges because of the energy and innovation that they typically bring to the table. USAID is a learning agency, and we are constantly exploring how to improve our work and increase our impact. So as we streamline our programs and look for new strategic partners, we invite the private sector to partner with us as we both work towards the common goal of helping Jamaicans thrive.
There's this sense of a godlike syndrome that during some transactions an oversight body must lap its tail or virtually hold its corner in the name of investment. There are different roles for each stakeholder. Each must stay in their lane and accept criticism when constructively made. On the contrary, ladies and gentlemen, potential investors, in fact, should be happy that the business environment observes the rule of law and that democracy flourishes with built-in checks and balances. If I were an investor about to enter Jamaica, it's incumbent on me and my handlers to look out for red flags and indicators of the environment. I name a few on a list that is not exhaustive. 1, determine the role of the oversight body. It must be effective, efficient, fearless, and it must be respected. What, if any, comment does the oversight body have to say on a process or an investment opportunity that you wish to enter? The engagement, ladies and gentlemen, of investors and investor confidence, existing and thriving, must be viewed on a virtual 2-lane highway. That is a 2-way street with rules and guidelines being applicable. 2, does the police service support and protect local and non-Jamaican community members? Do they communicate with all persons Are they accessible at all times? Maintain a presence that the visitor or citizen believes and recognizes that if they do wrong, they'll be detected. But lines of communication must always be in place. For too long in this blessed country, the notion exists that unless someone knows you and you not knowing them, nothing will happen. That needs to end. In a time of real emergency, the joke is told, unless you have on speed dial a member of the police force, the response time to a complaint is sometimes unacceptable. Another thing that I would think an investor would look for, there must be a criminal justice system that is efficient and effective, and we must congratulate the learned Chief Justice for the renaissance and the role of the DPP's office in the renaissance that is taking place now. But we must also have financial services, a banking system, healthcare facilities. They must be adequate, to name a few components. Importantly, ladies and gentlemen, on Jamaica's stock exchange record, Michael Reagan, writing in Bloomberg Business Week, January 18, 2019, states the Jamaican stock exchange is the world's best performing. Its outperformance over the past 5 years is even more striking. Jamaica's stocks have surged almost 300%, more than quadrupling the next best performing national benchmark and septupling the S&P Standard & Poor's 500's advance. I make bold to say that the very important successes must be highlighted, with all the negatives on crime and violence reported in the last 48 hours in Jamaica. Also, the awards in the tourism sector must also be celebrated. However, we must do better. Ladies and gentlemen, what are some of the solutions? Government agencies must work together all the time and set aside jealousies and petty matters which have no place in a professional setting. Interagency cooperation and collaboration must be emphasized and practiced. We must build bridges and stop tearing down, emasculating, and ridiculing persons. The fact that you do not agree is no reason to disrespect. Professionalism is non-negotiable. We must have a review of the timelines to review governance structures. Oftentimes, pieces of legislation give you 3 years to review a legislation. You see in 1 year, nothing is happening. The parliamentary caucus needs to do something about that. We must enhance whistleblowing regimes and encourage the discourse, changing the discourse to, in my words, informer for live. Stop saying informer for dead, informer for live. I must admit, I'm an informer. I'm a proud one. I'm an informer. Tell me something today, I'm going to tell the police tomorrow. We need to modernize the law enforcement units and bring outstanding laws into operation. We need public education to sensitize the world that the perception of corruption or actual is not a reflection of the overwhelming majority of law-abiding Jamaicans. We need to ensure that the police and our oversight bodies work to regain public trust. The police must maintain presence, not just in hotspots, but also generally. It will help to rebuild issues of insecurity. I pause here as I listen to Professor Clayton. In the last month, I visited Cayman. The police carry no guns. A year before, I went to Turks and Caicos. The police had no guns. I visited Grenada a few times. The police had no guns. They have their problems, but I felt safe. I am walking in this, my beloved country, and we're turning and looking behind us every minute. But our Caribbean neighbors, and Professor Clayton showed us the figures, I feel safe. We need to look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, as I close, I reiterate that the government of Jamaica, the ministries, the departments, the statutory bodies, to name a few, must work united to create that package, that which is seen by the outside world, with all the various components and elements that they look at. and which they consider, and which will have the effect to harness growth and encourage investor confidence. But most importantly, we must leave our partners with the belief that integrity is non-negotiable. Honesty is paramount, not by word of mouth, but by our actions. And despite our problems, crime and corruption, that they can and humbly should consider investing in our country to bring about change for good. Acknowledging that the improvement of the basic standards of life may have the effect of changing behavior, but I readily admit we can't legislate for good behavior.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
In respect of what it takes to inspire confidence, I'm a plain speaker, and I will say, I believe that what is happening in our country, education is the key. I believe that a lot of our children, some of those who come from environments where they are victims of poor and dysfunctional parenting, we need to reintroduce civics in all its forms back within the schools, from the time of the basic school, because there are a lot of our children. People complain that, okay, are the schools not doing enough? But they may go to school, the teachers try their best, and they go back into an environment that is like a black hole of nothingness, because there's no value system, no values, positive values and attitudes. And yet if you take that child and you put that child in another environment, you have intervention, positive intervention, you would be surprised to see the beautiful diamond coming from the rough. So I'm really a big believer in education. Now, another pet peeve of mine is that, and I prosecute police officers, I do not subscribe to the throwing the baby with the bathwater approach. Everybody knows their functions best. But I am not a public official who believes, unless it is necessary in the interests of justice, to make gratuitous comments in terms of seeking to tear down my colleagues anywhere. And I am not into using speculation to put out there to join the call for crucify him, crucify her in the public domain, where you have the court of public opinion demanding, just like the little old ladies who were knitting at the time in the Tale of Two Cities and saying for the noblemen, chop off their heads. I am not into that. At the Director of Public Prosecution's Office, we deal with two things: the law and evidence. Personal emotion, personalities, we are not into it. So even if the court of public opinion or any other opinion would like to see the guillotined head of an individual on a platter, if there is no evidence to prosecute, to mount a viable prosecution, then as a matter of law, we have to say so. And I will say, and it's the first time I'm saying it publicly, first time, and I say it with the greatest of respect, that this is why on occasion, when I've been asked privately, I have registered privately a concern when you have no firewall between agencies that both investigate and prosecute. Because if you are not careful, you run away in the court of public opinion. And the court of law has to catch up. And by the time it gets to court, after a lot of reputational damage has been done, when you look at it, and the defense counsel gets up and says, they are putting the prosecution in limine to prove what is there. The judge asks, and when you pare away what is there, there's nothing there as a matter of law. So sometimes in the court of public opinion, the members of the public would want to see one thing, but both the police and I know that in the court of law, it's either you have to have cogent, credible, reliable, admissible evidence. If you don't have it, then no matter how egregious the conduct of an individual is, then you don't have a case. Then you have to look at the second layer in terms of governance and accountability. And this is where public opinion, civil society can force the government of the day to make sure that all the particular oversight agencies, that they have teeth, that they are well structured, and that the will, the political will is there to make sure that the teeth are not rickety in the oversight agencies, but they can stand up. In other words, if you put a piece of cane in the mouth of the teeth of that oversight agency, the teeth won't come out. It is the cane that will suffer damage.
Riveting perspectives and indeed sobering statistics coming from the AmCham empaneled team here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
This past week, the Ministry of Health reported 8 cases of COVID-19 in Jamaica. Government is tracing and testing all persons who might have been in contact with all patients. But there are things we can do to protect ourselves and prevent community spread. Practice proper sanitization methods and try to maintain a safe distance of 2 meters from all persons. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Sandra Johnson. We have an interesting show lined up for you as we continue to tackle matters relating to human trafficking. You don't want to miss a minute, so stay tuned. The National Health Fund is an agency which provides financial support to our national healthcare system in order to improve the effectiveness and affordability of healthcare for all Jamaicans. Find out more on Get the Facts next.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm your host, Enthros Campbell. Now, when you hear the name National Health Fund, you think of a card that allows certain individuals to get free medication or medication at a reduced cost. But there's more to the agency, as it also supports the development of our national healthcare system. Chief Executive Officer Everton Anderson is here to tell us about the broad operations of the NHF. Mr. Anderson, welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Great. Remind us of the mandate of the NHF. What was the organization established to do and how it is funded?
Right. The National Health Fund was set up some 15 years ago to provide support to healthcare in Jamaica. And at the time, it was thought that the agency would cover some key illnesses in terms of the medication aspect of care. And I think we started with 13 chronic conditions in terms of coverage. And it really provides support to persons, Jamaicans specifically, who have those chronic conditions. We also provide support to public institutions in terms of support for capital projects, supporting health promotion programs, and just generally providing support in great areas of need in healthcare in Jamaica.
Yes, and the direct benefits to us Jamaicans. Who benefits? How can they apply? Let us talk about that.
Right. Well, the NHF and JADEP cards are our major platforms for offering health servicing to beneficiaries. For the NHF card, once you're diagnosed with any of the chronic illnesses listed, and we now cover 17 conditions. I think we recently added 2, sickle cell in 2015 and lupus a few months ago. Once you're diagnosed with any of those conditions, we have our application form. Your doctor verifies you have the condition. You then come into any one of our offices and you get your card within 15 to 30 minutes. Initially, the benefit was mainly offered through our Kingston office, but we have listened to our stakeholders and we now have access to the NHF card on a same-day basis in every single parish in Jamaica. For the JADEP card, it's a card for persons 60 years and above. So once you get to 60 and you are diagnosed with any of the chronic illnesses covered, then you can also get the JADEP benefits.
All right, so the JADEP card is for 60 years, person 60 years and over, but
Yes.
the NHF is for any age.
Any Jamaican, regardless of your economic situation, regardless of your age, once you have that chronic illness, then you can qualify. Then you qualify for the NHF benefits.
Right. About how many persons do we have benefiting now from these two initiatives?
Right. Our total beneficiary count to include JADEP and NHF is about 818,000 persons who are enrolled on these programs, 818,000 Jamaicans.
Right. Can you speak specifically to the illnesses that are covered?
Right. I mentioned earlier we cover
Right.
17
Yes,
illnesses.
yes.
And this is based on the illnesses that most Jamaicans would be affected by. So it includes asthma, arthritis, diabetes, hypertension, and other chronic illnesses, lupus. We also cover breast cancer in terms of the drugs, prostate cancer, and a number of other illnesses.
Right. So in terms of the cancer, you do the drugs, but do you do some of the treatments like chemotherapy or radiotherapy?
No, we only do the drugs. We actually provide a larger subsidy for those drugs because of the high cost of cancer care. So we provide drugs through our card programs for breast cancer and prostate cancer.
All right. Any plans to increase the number of illnesses? If so, what are some of these and how soon can we expect?
Well, we have an active discussion at the fund as to coverage. It's largely based on the funding that we have. So we go through a process of analysis every year to determine what is possible. And as you notice, in the last 3 years or 4 years, we've added 2 new illnesses. So we're always looking at new illnesses that can be covered.
Ms. Anderson, tell us a little bit more about the application process for the 2 cards. The NHF is, how is that done? Persons have to take a form to their doctors who would verify. Expand on it for me.
Right. The application process is very simple for both cards and similar. The first thing is that you have to be diagnosed as having any of the chronic illnesses. You then get your physician, your doctor, to sign on the form indicating and confirming that you have the illness. You can then get either JADEP or NHF card at any of our locations island-wide. Initially, we would offer a 7-day service at our head office, but we moved to a same-day service at head office, and we've expanded that same-day service, and it's available in every single parish in Jamaica. So if you get a diagnosis at midday, you get the form completed half an hour later and get to our office. You leave with your benefit card within 15 to 30 minutes in every single parish, because we really wanted to broaden access and really send a message that we're serious about providing an excellent service to our customers.
Tell us about the costs as it relates to both cards, the different between
Right.
cards.
Well, for the JADEP card, the drugs are free of cost, except that beneficiaries contribute to the dispensing fee, which is $40 per item, up to a maximum of $240. So no beneficiary will pay more than $240. For the NHF card program, we provide a subsidy. And
$240.
maximum contribution for the
Yes.
JADEP program.
Yes.
For the NHF card, it is a different arrangement where we pay a subsidy depending on the illness. It ranges between 40 up to about 70%. We provide a greater coverage for conditions like breast cancer and prostate cancer, where the cost of those drugs tend to be a lot more. And the beneficiaries will then co-pay.
Yes.
And in some cases, they have both the NHF card and the health insurance card, which leads to a lower co-pay, which allows greater access.
Right. So I have a health insurance with a private company, and I have the NHF card.
Right.
I can use them together.
Right.
And there's no charge for getting the card.
No, the card is free of cost, and the
Yes.
process of accessing is really good. And I have to give the highest commendation to our 476 private pharmacy providers who support the program and have helped us to deliver what we consider to be an excellent service to the people of this country.
Okay, let's take a break now, and we continue with more on the National Health Fund. Stay with us.
Don't make diseases spread. Wash your hands with soap and water instead. Wash them regular or use a hand sanitizer. Make sure the germs them dead. Touching your eyes or your mouth or your nose. Wash your hands before you do things like those. After you use the bathroom before preparing food, come on, wash your hand them clean. Cause it's so easy for germs multiply. You better wash your hands, it can save your own life. Wash your hand them clean, no bother spread no disease now. Hand washing is key.
A message from the Ministry of Health and PAHO.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. We continue our discussion with Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Fund, Everton Anderson. Mr. Anderson, the NHF is responsible for procuring and distributing pharmaceuticals, as well as managing the public sector pharmacy services. Explain, tell us how that works.
Right. Well, the process started in 2011 when NHF assumed responsibilities for what was then the Health Corporation Limited. So we've moved from that to now providing what we call end-to-end management of pharmaceuticals for the public health system. So we procure drugs through an international competitive tender, we warehouse drugs, and we also get the drugs to the hands of the patients. So it's really a massive operation that we run in that program, and we've seen our numbers move from under 1 million prescriptions annually. Last year we did 2.5 million prescriptions and dispensed over 10 million prescription items to over 500,000 Jamaicans who access care in the public health system. So it's really an awesome task that we have embraced, and I would have to, at this time, recognize the staff of the NHF who have embraced all these changes and have really performed very well despite the challenges that come with offering such a huge service.
Right, so the benefit to us would be that you know what drugs are in the system, and so your clients will be able to access the drugs. You know that the drugs are there, and so we can access them easier. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Yes. So you have now have a faster turnaround time of issuing the cards, but I know that you have other initiatives to benefit your clients. Tell us about that.
Right. I spoke about the pharmacy service earlier, and I just want to speak a little about this. We have moved to really modernize pharmacy in the public health space. Our warehouse, which we inherited, is now ISO certified, and 4 of our large pharmacies are now ISO certified.
What does that mean?
It means that we've added a significant quality element to our processes to ensure that what we do is of maximum benefit to our clients.
Yes.
So we've added a pharmacy management system which enables us to move drugs around in a most efficient way. So the drugs don't belong to Cornwall Regional or KPH, it belongs to the system. So we're able from a macro perspective to look at where the drugs are and to adjust drugs based on patient needs at any point in time. In addition, we've managed to have significant reductions in waiting times through innovative initiatives like quick prescript, scheduled refill, and we are really working with our clients, bearing in mind that long waiting times can be a major barrier to access. So I really want to say that our staff have embraced this service, and it really has made some strides, and we are not done. We will continue to improve.
So this complaint about persons going to the hospital and their relatives having to go outside to get medication, is that a thing of the past? Are you moving towards improving that service?
Well, I think we have made some strides, but we have to contextualize in that the government has a list called the VEN list, vital, essential, and necessary. So at times, if a physician prescribes an item not on the VEN list, then we would not necessarily have that item. So persons will have to go outside. But I think we're now able to measure what we call failure rates, and we're now at between 85–88%, meaning that of every prescription that comes in, we're able to fill 88% of the time.
Very good.
So I think that is very important to note.
Yes. Talk to us about your drugstore pharmacies.
The drugstore pharmacies are predominantly now focused on managing a huge public sector load. As I mentioned, we have moved from about 1 million prescriptions annually to 2.5. We have some locations where we serve 400 to 600 patients per day. That is a very huge undertaking. So we really had to take a very creative, innovative approach to managing the service, bearing in mind that speed in dispensing is only one important factor. Medication safety is also important. So we have really managed to make those pharmacies a lot better, and we have plans to partner with our patients to do even more.
Yes, but people, if I have a prescription that I would take to a regular private pharmacy, if I go to the drugstore pharmacies, do I get the medication at a lower rate at the drugstore pharmacies?
Are you speaking as a private patient?
As a private patient.
Right. Well, we predominantly, as I mentioned, are focused on the public patients. The private patients that we now see would be those cases that we define as special. For example, those items not easily available in the private sector. So we provide cancer drugs, we provide items for hemodialysis patients and other special services. But our work predominantly is related to serving the public patients.
Okay, all right. Okay, so tell me about some of the other projects that you are working on to improve the health sector.
Right. Well, initially, the NHF started financing health projects. But for the last few years, we've moved from not only financing these projects, but to actually project management and execution. So we have done so many projects across the country. This year alone, I think it's 1.7 billion in project funding and management that we are in charge of. So we've done major projects.
What are some of these projects?
Elevators, new equipment. Our largest project was the construction of 2 cancer treatment centers. one in Montego Bay, one at St. Joseph's, and the value of that was about 15 million US dollars. And we executed within time without any major cost overrun. We have an excellent project team who really understand that the needs of the public have to coincide with excellent facilities. I think for the most part, the response has been very positive. I would have looked at the core NHF benefits. The customer satisfaction has always been over 95%. For the pharmacies that would have just come on, they are about 85%. And apart from those figures, we have created avenues for patient feedback, which we use as a guide to build service excellence. So I think for the most part, it has been good, but good is never good enough in our sphere.
Yes.
So there are always plans to get better in the interest of the patients that we serve.
Great. Anything on the horizon, like soon, within the next few months or year?
Well, we have a team that says there's no 100% in what we do. So there are always new innovations. We have patient scheduling systems that we're working on now. Our major thing that we're doing in the next few months is a patient education and medication compliance program, recognizing that making the drugs available to clients does not mean that they will take them regularly.
Yes.
So we're actually piloting with the Pharmaceutical Society of Jamaica a program where we will manage 2,000 beneficiaries, manage them, and we actually do research to see what makes them compliant, see if we can implement that on a broader scale throughout Jamaica.
Yes. And before we go, the cards, we don't have to renew them, right?
No.
Once you get them, it's for a lifetime.
Once you get them, take care of them. But if you do lose a card, then we can give you a replacement card in the same quick speed in which you would have gotten your original card.
Okay. Mr. Anderson, thank you so very much for sharing with us on the NHF in this week's edition of Get the Facts.
My pleasure.
This has been Get the Facts with our guest, Everton Anderson, who is Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Fund. Until next time, I'm Rose Campbell. Take good care.
Today we bring you the final of our 4-part series, Traffic Blocking, where we look at the effects of human trafficking and what we can do to help.
The sad reality is that many Jamaicans are vulnerable to being trafficked every day, particularly our youth, especially students.
Chrissy, we're going to work tonight, all right? So after school, I want to go straight to your mother's house. You hear me?
Yes, Daddy.
All right. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hi, Jerry.
Hey, Chrissy.
I'm going straight home.
Yeah, what's up?
Because I was thinking we could go to Apple Tree and then...
Hey, Chrissy. Chrissy's boyfriend.
Uncle Frankie!
All right. Just playing. Are you heading to Half a Tree?
Yes.
Yes, sir. All right. I could give you a lift. I could drop your friend, and then I could take you to your dad's place. I'm heading to him right after.
Oh, sorry, Uncle. Daddy didn't tell me to go straight to Mama's house tonight.
Oh, okay. He has work tonight. How about you?
Yeah, man. Sure. See you tomorrow, Chrissy.
that one of the popular means that traffickers use to obtain victims is by abduction. And so we decided to conduct an experiment in the heart of Papine to see who would be willing to enter an unmarked vehicle. I posed as a US student looking to make a little extra money on the side. We placed our camera right there and we parked our car in an area that is frequented by robot taxis. Let's see what happens. You going grand tour? Yeah. Alright then, come on. I'm in this car. Open. Watch out for the water. Ma'am, you just been trafficked. You just get into an unmarked taxi. Yeah, man. Can't do that. So don't watch for them face, even though they're nice and pretty like me. Okay, come outside, man, and smile to the camera. The Love March team was able to solicit 6 persons, 3 of which actually entered my car. Can we think about that young lady who, after entering my vehicle, ran out for her life into oncoming traffic? But no one noticed. No one noticed that she could have been a victim of human trafficking. How often does this happen? And what else is being done to combat this scourge in our nation, now that we know that our population is vulnerable?
Our victims of human trafficking, and in Jamaica so far we have rescued in the last 5 years 75 victims of human trafficking. We don't end our efforts by just taking statements and allowing the court process to work. Instead, we continue beyond that. So for our experience, our victims get the benefit of social support going forward. So we have not had anybody come back into the episode of human trafficking.
A study done by Ricketts and Dunn in 2007 in our very own country discovered that the most vulnerable population to be trafficked are young persons who are working class with a secondary education between the ages of 18 and 24, particularly women. However, men and boys get trafficked too.
We need to start, before they become victims, start education, start in the school, start everywhere, start social education to prevent it from happening in the first place, or to make them aware of what's possible.
You can't be open your eye them, peel your eye them more, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know who might just see and say, all right then, the girl there or the guy that look nice, me look like me can take them away or fool them or deceive them and make them do what they don't want to do.
We have to educate the public on these things, because if we don't, then they themselves as pending victims won't know what to look out for.
Take the time to have due diligence. It may be too late when you wake up and realize that, I should have paid attention. So my plea really is for persons to have eyes open, ears open. So if you can intercept and avoid that trafficking from even taking place, then for me that is absolutely excellent, because it means there's one more individual who is on the path to recovery, one more individual who would not have been put through the entire ordeal of what modern day slavery really is.
I'll start by saying that it is a situation, that's human trafficking, that globally is recognized as one of the most heinous crimes that has ever come into our experience. It is lucrative, as mentioned before, so it must not be taken lightly. We ask people that if we can cut the recruitment aspect of it, we can minimize this crime with a view of ending it. We also want people to speak up. It cannot be true that you're aware of a situation, but you're just not talking because it's not you.
Unless the family is informed generally on what trafficking is and what's happening in society, and they're not that minded, then it will continue to happen. So education is key to protection. I believe for Jamaica, we just need to become aware that this is real, that it's happening here, and that our children are valuable, that our children are the future. And if they're destroyed, what kind of future do we expect to have?
Human trafficking is a real issue, and it affects us as young people. And as a result, we have to protect ourselves. Young lives matter. I matter. You matter. Let's work together to end modern-day slavery. Traffic blocking begins with you.
If you know or suspect that someone is a victim of human trafficking, please call 188-PROTECT for victims under the age of 18 years or 311 for victims over 18 years. You may also call the TIP unit at 967-1389 or email tip.ocid@jcf.gov.jm.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Thanks for watching another edition of Jamaica Magazine. Join us again tomorrow when we'll do this all over again. Send your feedback on today's show to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. Also, follow us on our social media pages and download our app on your Apple and Android devices. You can also visit our website at jis.gov.jm for more information. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Sandra Johnson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
You're watching Business Access TV. Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious.
Serious.
Serious about business.
Hello and welcome to Business Access Television's coverage of the official launch of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association, CARIA. Now, CARIA is a non-profit organization which aims to expand access to private equity and other alternative investment instruments. We're at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in Kingston. I'm your host, Keneal Gale.
Indeed, my great pleasure as the Managing Director of the Development Bank of Jamaica to welcome you all to this event, the official launch of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association, otherwise known as CARIA. And Audrey, I hope I got that right. Allow me to welcome Mr. Paul B. Scott, Chairman of the Board of the DBJ, and this evening, our keynote speaker, Mr. Joseph Matalan, former chairman of the DBJ and a founding member of CARIA. I want to thank you all for graciously agreeing to be with us here this afternoon. This afternoon event is indeed the fulfillment of a commitment made some 4 years ago under the agreement signed with the IDB Lab. Back then it was the Inter-America Development Bank, to establish a vibrant equity and venture capital industry in Jamaica. One of the many deliverables under that agreement was a private sector-led association under the leadership of Audrey Richards, the head of the venture capital program at the DBJ. I think we can truly say this afternoon, promise stroke commitment made, promise stroke commitment kept. And so it is an honor for the DBJ to be hosting this groundbreaking event as we officially launch this association. This authority, this association, is the first of its kind in this region that covers the full spectrum of alternative investment assets class, that is private equity, venture capital, real estate, private capital, and mezzanine financing. And in that regard, we are extraordinarily pleased. And this is good for Jamaica and the wider Caribbean when taken against the background that globally the Caribbean is being considered as a bloc. It therefore means that the association will become the voice that speaks collectively on behalf of its members, thereby placing the Caribbean more effectively on the world's alternative investment stage. I am sure you will agree with me that this is indicative of solid and strategic long-term focus and vision. And so I would like to extend my personal congratulations, thanks and appreciation on behalf of the DBJ to the Advisory Council of CARIA, a small group of visionaries comprising Chris Williams, Joe Matadon, Nicholas Scott, Jason Morris, Keith Collister, Brian Fraser, Stephen Gooden, and of course, our Audrey Richards. Over the last 9 months, these investors have been deliberating and strategizing on the best model for the association. Many ideations, pivots, surveys, and reworks have taken place to arrive at the right model. Your strong support is a signal that the work of the DBJ, and indeed the Jamaica Venture Capital Program, is on the right trajectory.
Well, the launching of Korea, and that's how we're going to pronounce it maybe. I'm sure there'll be lots of iterations. But it represents for us a significant milestone as it has been one of the deliverables. As Mr. Reynolds indicated, it's one of the deliverables of our VC program. And of course, we at DBG are very, very pleased at hosting this event as we pass the baton to the private sector. Now, having been members of international private capital associations, it's always a little disconcerting when you attend these events and you get everybody else on the map, and then the Caribbean is a little dot with a few people that fly over, but you hear LAFCO, you hear about Brazil and Mexico and Colombia and all the other countries, but the Caribbean is not on the map. And we're a little jealous of that because we believe that we're important. So we think that we need to make the world know that things are happening in the Caribbean and that more and more will be happening. We believe that we have a story that we're going to be able to tell. But I'm just going to spend a few minutes sharing with you how we come to be there. Through the JV Capital project, we set out to develop basically an ecosystem. It was an ecosystem building mission, initially just to provide equity capital, access to equity for high potential SMEs. Now, in undertaking this, one of the things that we're always very clear about from the beginning, that this was going to be a private sector-led industry, and that we at DBJ were merely there as a catalyst and as some early anchor investor in funds. It would have been easy for the government of Jamaica in the early 2012-13 to have decided that they needed to set up a big $1 billion fund, and for that fund to start investing, government start investing in SMEs. But that was never the route that we chose to take, because we learned a lot of lessons. We got a lot of lessons learned out of IDB and other countries, their experience in this arena. And, you know, being able just for the governments to be trying to deploy private capital in what is a private capital industry, it doesn't usually end up in a good story. So we had to look to see how we could build the ecosystem. And when we looked around, we recognized that there were so many gaps in our ecosystem to start off with. We're building a market, and like any other market, whether or not your banking, your securities market, or your coronation market, you need the buyers, you need the sellers, you need some kind of infrastructure. And when we did that first market review, there were significant gaps in the ecosystem. There was knowledge gaps. Most of our players had been used to doing a lot of government paper, private, a few listed equities, but private equity was, I kept on being asked all the time, when is the joint venture program being set up? And I was at pains to explain that this was venture capital, not joint venture. And interestingly enough, I don't think I've been asked that in the last year and a half, 2 years. So there was an information gap. There was no information on who is doing what, were there any deals or anything. And there was a major legal regulatory gap. And of course, we know that the pension regulations are now being modified or have now been modified, but there's still a lot of work to be done. There was an entrepreneurship gap that was highlighted. The lack of readiness by entrepreneurs. If they're supposed to be receiving capital, it's not the same game as when they go to a bank to be able to access that funding. So there was a lot of work that needed to be done in there. Looking at the ecosystem, the fundamental conditions to develop the market were really missing. As I mentioned, the legal regulatory system, the efficiency of liquidity mechanisms, as well as the availability of highly qualified professionals such as fund managers. Now, the market responds to macroeconomic conditions, and thankfully this was beginning to go in the right direction. So all stars were beginning to align. And the existence, of course, of the stock exchange junior market was a plus, as it also created an exit mechanism. So the JV Capital program started with a lot of training, capacity building, and over the last few years, we have trained over 800 stakeholders, investors, fund managers, attorneys, and so on, in understanding what the asset class is about. We have trained just under 400 investors in becoming ready to access equity finance. We impacted over 2,000 university students, receiving business model training and having the tools to be able to build their businesses. And we've had 6 international conferences, of which we're very proud, because we've been able to bring in international players, regional players, as well as our local players in the venture capital space, infrastructure space, private equity space. Importantly, for the Caribbean to be taken seriously, one of the things we do need to have is data, lots of data, that persons looking inwards can understand what's happening on the ground. So the Korea is going to have a big job of developing its own database platform, collecting that data, and being able to pretty much disseminate the data. We haven't done it alone. We have had the support from our international partners, particularly IDB. For the JV Capital project, we've had a lot of support from the market stakeholders, for steering committee, and our oversight committee. And last but not least, I want to thank and congratulate my private sector colleagues for the establishment of Korea and to their obvious commitment to the development of the capital markets in Jamaica and the Caribbean. We, of course, look forward to the region recognized in the global community as a very highly respected investment and entrepreneurship hub. And that is our goal. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
We take our first break from BATV's coverage of the official launch of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association, happening here at the Jamaica Pegasus. More when we return.
Dodgen Global offers a CPA scholarship program to team members who join our team. A career in accountancy at Dodgen Global is a great choice and can offer you excellent job prospects. We believe that an accounting education is the greatest gift you can give yourself or anyone else. Few gifts make as significant an impact as the gift of an accountancy education with a job. It's a contribution that lasts a lifetime in the form of learning, opportunity, and success. Join our team and get the opportunity to be part of our CPA scholarship program. This scholarships awards program will be administered by the HR department of Dodgen Global. Requirement: first degree in accounting. Employed at Dodgen Global. Willing to pursue the CPA examination. Here's how to apply. Submit application to Staff Accountant, Dodgen Global. Email sa@dodgen.com.
Dodgen Global Business Process Outsourcing. Dodgen Global can help you with your day-to-day administrative and secretarial needs. We provide solutions for streamlining your accounting and bookkeeping procedures, so you can get on with running your business while knowing that all the accounting and statutory needs are being taken care of. Our BPO services include the following: bookkeeping, preparation of budgets, management accounts, and periodic financial analyses, provision of temporary or part-time accounting assistance, design and implementation of accounting systems, preparation of accounting manuals, payroll services, corporate secretarial services, assisting clients with their business entry strategy into the country, setting up new legal entities, maintaining minutes and other legal documents, non-executive directorships, preparing and submitting annual returns. For additional information, contact us at email info@dodgen.global, website www.dodgen.global.
Thanks for staying with us for the official launch of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association. Here to give remarks on behalf of the IDB Lab is Terry and Sigrid Brown.
It is with great pride from a personal perspective as well as a IDB perspective that I am here to celebrate with a DBJ in this regard. So let's start on a personal perspective. I've been with this program for a while, and I know we have been working towards this initiative from 2016, and there are others, Audrey, who have been working on this before. And it is indeed a great privilege to see that we are here now at this point where we have all the major stakeholders in this room gathered to launch this event and to launch this association. IDB is very pleased in this venture because we have funded a program, and I've been a partner with DBJ for many years. IDB is all about inclusion in the region, improving lives. So under IDB Lab, which is the entity that provided the funding, we're all about innovation for inclusion, working with the private sector, with government entities, and with NGOs towards building an ecosystem. And I've seen where DBJ has now taken that even another step further. And I've not just been looking at Jamaica, but how can this be rolled out across the Caribbean region? How do we then take the lessons we have learned in Jamaica and make it applicable to other countries in the Caribbean? So tonight, I'm very happy again, very pleased to be at the launch of this association. I've seen so many of the members that have come on. I think you have made strides, and I look forward to additional members joining. But I still think that we have some work to do in sensitizing the investors to accept greater risk. And this continues to be a role that the association is going to have to promote these messages across and help with the legal and regulatory environment as you progress.
We have been found. That's what we want to say. We have been found. We're there now. We're there. This is a momentous occasion. This feels like how I felt when Bolt win in Beijing. You understand? It's like history. You understand? It's a different thing. You know, so from Bolt win in Beijing, we know the world changed. When you look at the environment, and I have to speak firstly about Jamaica environment. We name it Caribbean, but we don't reach Caribbean yet. But we're ambitious, right? But we're starting from the base of Jamaica. And when we look at the Jamaican environment, we're comforted by the last 6 years. We're comforted by the reduction in the debt to GDP ratio. We're comforted by the fiscal discipline of both governments. We feel like we're getting somewhere. But when you look at the numbers, we're not getting anywhere. We're not getting the growth. And unless we get the growth, because the ultimate objective, is to move the per capita income. That's the objective. It's not to reduce debt to GDP. It's not to show better fiscal discipline. Those are means to the end. The end is to move income per person. Right? That is the bottom line. So we're searching for that. And what is missing is not access to financing. It's not more loans. The government show you that. It's not more capital market transactions. We've seen that over the last we're top in the world in the last 5 years. So we've seen that the capital market explosion still hasn't resulted in the growth that we want. But ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have been. It is access to alternative financing that is missing. That is what we're missing. And that is what we have found. We have found the missing link. We need people to step up and say, I believe in your idea, even though you don't have no real estate security, even though you don't have no car to give me as collateral, even though you don't have no guarantor from your rich uncle or whatever. But all you have is a brilliant idea, and I'll take the risk with you. That's what career is about. All right, so we're there now. We need some help. We need some help. Brian and the pensions team, we need some help. Keith, we need some help. You can't ask Bolt to go run at the Olympics without a pair of spikes. The reality is we don't have no spikes. You pretty up Security Dealers Association, you pretty up Bankers Association. We need some help on this side of the fence now. We need an allocation from the pension industry. We're going to help you. Pension industry, your yield problem can only be solved if you come down the risk metric and look at progressive managers to help you. So we don't expect you to go out there and go find 100 venture capital opportunities. We don't expect you to do that. What we expect you to do is to look to a fund manager like Epley or like Cygnus, or you really want a good fund manager like Proven. But look to the fund managers. They are the ones out there doing the dirty work. They're knocking on the doors. They're meeting with entrepreneurs. They're having the conversations. They're doing capacity building. That will make your life easier. So your work and your job is solved. You also have been? Okay, found. Big thanks to the founding members. We have a solid platform. Not many associations can kick off with $75,000 in them bank account. You know? So big up to the founding members. You guys have really stepped up to the plate and put up some money and made sure that we have a solid platform to roll out with. So thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause.
We take another break from the official launch of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association. When we come back, we hear from the keynote speaker. Stay with us.
Great design is not only how things look, but also how well they work. The GLC, more than meets the eye.
This week on Home Sweet Home, we go around Jamaica to visit a few of our most historical homes, each with their own little story. Our first stop, let's find out.
The keynote address for the official launch of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association comes to you from Chairman of the Development Bank of Jamaica, Mr. Paul B. Scott.
Chris, in his earlier comments, hit the nail on the head. We have, over the last 5 years, and you know, he described this as a Beijing moment, but I have to say that the fiscal discipline that the government has managed over the last 5 years, that has deleveraged effectively the government, in my opinion, is as impressive as Usain Bolt winning gold once. I mean, the reality is that the world has dramatically changed in the last 5 years. And I feel really privileged as a Jamaican and as a business person to be working in this period of time. The 1990s effectively, through poor monetary policy, destroyed an entire generation of entrepreneurs. And, you know, to a large degree, I was very privileged to go and work at Mawson and, you know, become CEO in 2004 at a fairly young age. A lot to do with the fact that I'm a product of lucky sperm opposed to probably ability. But the reality is that when I started to be CEO, there was a generation gap, a massive generation gap in business in Jamaica. Because effectively, the generation of the people who were in their 40s, when I was in my mid-20s, had been wiped out, and then they had left. And it's hard to explain to people what that is actually like. For someone like myself, that has been a tremendous opportunity. It's been a tremendous opportunity for us to be able to invest in a marketplace where you have a lot of energy. The generation running the country for 10 years should have probably been retiring, because their generation that was supposed to be taking over from them effectively had been wiped out, because those that took risk were punished for it. Those that borrowed money and who took risk ended up destroyed by bad policy. The fiscal discipline of the last 5 years has essentially created a different environment, an environment where the capital markets are now real. But it's not enough for just a select few to have access to those capital markets. You know, we don't in Jamaica just want growth. Yes, that's a start. We do want growth. But we need inclusive growth. We need growth where capital formation is fundamental to the development of this country. There's a lot of talk in the last week or so about the dollar moving. And, you know, to a large degree, that's only really relevant because we have a structural problem in our economy in that we're relying so much on imports. And we're not doing as much trading internally than we should be doing. And that is really a function of the fact that our capital formation, the new companies coming up, the level of production is just simply not there or not growing at the rate that it ought to grow. Now, it is incredibly pleasing that the debt to GDP has fallen by a significant amount. And it's extraordinarily pleasing that we can actually believe that we may well hit our 60% debt to GDP by the targets that we have. And that is very, very pleasing. But the reality is that money that's going to come into the private system has to go and work because we have an open exchange rate here. So if we do not create opportunities for capital to flow to yield and return, it will find return somewhere. And it will end up in New York or London or Hong Kong or elsewhere because money flows to yield. And at the end of the day, we have a lot of work to do in Jamaica with regard to the regulatory frameworks that effectively capture capital. And right now you're seeing a situation where financial institutions, many of the people in this room, are facing reduced returns based upon being forced to put money in certain asset classes. And that is not going to end well. The very regulatory design of essentially determining that, for example, the MCT for general insurance companies should be at 250%, and that 90% of your assets should be in government bonds shorter than 12 months, is leading to, and will continue to lead with the deleveraging of the Jamaican debt, to those very companies that policy is designed to sort of strengthen, becoming significantly weaker because their other income has dropped off a cliff. So we have to look at working through some of these regulatory impediments. And that is why it's so pleasing that the private sector has taken on the mantle of developing Career.
When we come back, we'll hear more from keynote speaker Paul B. Scott.
Cameo takes you behind the scenes of Jamaica's exploding creative industries to give you an insider's look at how creatives get the job done.
I'm really picky about how we treat our customers.
As creative people, we went a little bit over the top.
Each week, we interview innovators leading the charge in their industry. The chaos of creativity meets the stricture of structure on Business Access TV's Cameo.
Alternative investing is a really interesting area. And in many ways, the Development Bank of Jamaica is like an alternative investment institution. Our role is to fill market gaps. And it needs to be understood that that is our role. Our role is not to offer the cheapest loans in the marketplace. If there is a deficit of capital for loans, And there was a time when that was the role of the DBJ, because there was no capital available through the private system to lend because the government had completely crowded out from bad monetary policy. The DBJ could lend money. The private markets now have plenty capital available to lend. So the DBJ then started to lend longer. So it wasn't so much about the coupon rate and the price, or even access. It was then about, can we lend money and give money at a tenor that the private market won't give? Because that's what they're not doing. So we started to lend at 15 years and developed lending that was flexible, that allowed people to do real estate development for BPO. And it's a good example, because that wasn't available before. That allowed a BPO industry to be built in Jamaica, where today 41,000 people are employed. 41,000 people employed. And to a large degree, our unemployment today, which is just hovering under 8%, a lot of it has to do with initiatives such as that. Today, the DBJ is not alone in offering 15-year money. The vast majority of the market will offer 15-year money and possibly 20-year money. So that is not where the DBJ can add value. I get telephone calls constantly from clients of the DBJ saying, the rate is too high. This is not a concessionary rate. This is higher than NCB or BNS or anybody else. And I have to say to them, well, you know, the market's working, it's starting to work, and go to NCB. Go borrow from NCB. Go borrow from where you can get the best rate. Because it's not the role of the government to be a lending institution. It's the role of the government to work and nurture an ecosystem to allow capital to be delivered for capital formation. And that's what's exciting about the DBJ, because the DBJ has been working on this ecosystem. It's been working on the venture capital program, and Audrey has done an incredible job from the beginning in developing this system. And now that it has been developed, it is incredibly satisfying to see that the private sector is taking on that role, taking on that development, and taking on the role of doing lobbying for further pension reform, for tax laws with regard to partnerships, because for the regulatory changes that need to happen with life insurance companies and general insurance companies, because there is a role for that. And if it's not done in a technical and sophisticated way, then it's not going to get done. You have to be somewhat scientific in how you go about it. You need to read the legislation, go over it, and be very granular on what you want. We can't just we can't just complain. What we need to do is we need to put resources, and that's great that you are funded from the start. And DBJ will, as a member, will continue to support you. But we need to put resources behind identifying and clearly articulating what is required for the private sector to be able to excel in the alternative investment space. Capital is not just about money, it's about people. And in fact, the most important thing in any business or society is people. And people need to have the ability to believe that their dreams can come true in Jamaica. Entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs because they're dreamers and they can conceptualize something. But if they cannot believe that Jamaica can deliver what their aspirations are, they're going to emigrate. I think all the members that have joined Korea have themselves shown that they are risk takers, they understand the marketplace, and they work very hard to develop or have developed their businesses. But with no offense to any of them, Epley included or Proven, the reality is that there needs to be another 50 alternative investment managers out there. And you should not be threatened by other people in the space, because the Caribbean is a big canvas. It's a big canvas. And you also should realize that you're in the game of raising capital. And for Bolt to be the best in the world, someone has to come second. If he was running by himself, it would be very unimpressive and very boring. So you need other people, their performance, to not be so good in order for the true performers to look good. So don't feel that this is a situation where you're taking from someone else when you're coming in. The market is massive. The canvas is large. An ecosystem is incredibly important for all of you to survive and work. And if you want to have an economy that's growing, you've got to have, yes, capital formation at a low level, growing and becoming bigger. The development of private equity in Jamaica will allow, with maturity and cooperation, you to negotiate and co-bid, bid together in consortiums for assets. It's a real opportunity for you to put together in an organized, formal way enough capital for us to actually change the structure of this economy. Because it's hard, let me tell you. You have a tremendous opportunity to raise capital and purchase significant assets and make them Caribbean-owned. And that is so exciting. So at DBJ, we're excited to stand alongside and support all of you as you go out and grow your businesses and raise equity and build out what I would hope is going to be a completely different structural change in our economy going forward.
Your weekly dose of information on nutrition, wellness, and fitness. Discover ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit.
Hi, it's Novia MacDonald-White, Senior Associate Editor at the Jamaica Observer. And guess what? You are watching Business Access Television.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to tangibly thank our founding members who responded so positively to our call for to become founding members of the association. So it's my honor to announce and present to you the 16 members of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association.
Audrey, thank you so much for joining us here on Business Access TV. Congratulations on the launch. Tell me, why was it necessary to have an association?
The association brings together the players in the private equity, venture capital, real estate, private mezzanine funding, and the private credit funding. All these entities that are involved in providing alternative finance. What we wanted to be able to do was to have a common voice, not just in Jamaica, but in the region or to the global audience out there, to say that these entities exist in the Caribbean. They're doing a lot of work in terms of mobilizing capital across the region and investing across the region. Not only does it give a voice to the region, it creates the kind of networks, because we wanted to make it to a real Caribbean association. So although we started in Jamaica with 16 members, we're really looking to take it across the region, because what you find is that if somebody's raising, say, a private equity fund in order to invest in a big infrastructure project, they're not just likely to look at one country in the region. They're likely to look across the region in order to raise that capital to make that investment.
Talk to us a little bit about the evolution of private equity in Jamaica. You know, a lot of people years ago weren't talking about this, and now we're at this point. Just walk us through the evolution.
What the evolution really came about because we looked at what was needed to be able to develop that industry. As I mentioned earlier, you're talking about a market, a private equity market. You're talking about investors who have capital, and you're talking about entrepreneurs and other businesses who need that capital. Now, in order to bring the two together, it's the buyer, the seller, and you need an environment in which it takes place. What we found was that we didn't have the makings of a market. Our buyers were not ready, in that the suppliers of capital were not familiar with the asset class. Most of them had invested a lot in government securities, but they were not familiar with investing in private equity. Some of them had invested on the stock exchange in listed equity, but a private equity transaction is different. So we had to do training on that end. For the entrepreneurs, there's still a deficit when it comes to the kind of deal flow that is going to create activity. But our entrepreneurs have come a long way. So we have things like the National Business Model Competition, where entrepreneurs they have an idea, but it's not just good enough to say you have an idea, you want funding. You have to develop your business model, develop your strategy, and be able to convince an investor that you're worth investing in. And of course, when you look across the environment, you need to be able to undertake these transactions. So we set out to do a lot of capacity building on all sides. We've also done things like, as I mentioned, the business model competition, which helps to bring up, the basically how people view things in the environment. And there are some legal and regulatory issues that we've had to address. So it's building block by block. It wasn't an overnight turn on the switch, we're going to do venture capital. It's understanding what are the makings of a market and putting those building blocks in place so that the private sector can now take and move forward and do the transactions. It's not for the government to be doing the transactions. It's the private sector. They now have the tools to go out there and start creating value.
Mr. Matalan, thank you so much for joining us here on Business Access TV. Tell me, how significant is today's launch?
I think it's very significant. I mean, when the venture capital program started in around 2014, this was one of the objectives that we set, the establishment of this private sector-led association that is going to lead the private equity and alternative investment industry in Jamaica. So to see that come to fruition is very, very satisfying. I think it's also significant for the country because it signals, yet another piece of evidence about the maturity of our capital markets and our entrepreneurial ecosystem, all of which I think bodes well for the future of the country.
We had a launch today with a lot of members. What would you say to other potential members who are not yet on board? How do you sell it to them to get them on board?
Well, don't miss out. right? We have, as Mr. Williams has said, been found. This industry is where the yield is, and capital flows to the yield, as Mr. Scott indicated in his presentation. So if you're not there, you're not saying anything, so you need to get on board.
A new day has dawned in the private equity system in Jamaica. What's your feeling right now?
Feeling good, feeling good. The reality is that as a country, we have evolved over the last 5 to 6 years. We have seen some amount of fiscal stability. We have seen tremendous fiscal discipline by our government. And we've seen an evolution of the financial markets ecosystem. We need to understand as Jamaicans that the financial market does not equal the commercial banking market. It's wider than that. We've begun to see some amount of acceptance of that through the equity market. A lot of people are now participating in the equity market, and we want a lot more.
Launching in Jamaica, you already have a foothold. How do you pitch this to the region? How do we make this truly Caribbean?
That's a great question. It's going to be a challenge because we're launching in Jamaica with, primarily Jamaican founding members. But we think that the Caribbean will understand that that was just for efficiency. We think that the Caribbean, specifically the Dominican Republic and Trinidad, are just as aggressive as it relates to the expansion of their ecosystem. And we think that as a result, they will welcome us and we'll get some membership from them. And then we'll also get some directors from them, and we'll therefore widen the thought process. So it's going to take some work. It's going to take some traveling and some knocking on doors and some convincing. But we're going to get there, and it's a historic day. It's a launch of an association that 20 years from now we're going to be very happy with.
And that's where we end our coverage here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in Kingston. You were watching the official launch of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association. A new day has dawned for the private equity market in Jamaica. I've been your host, Keneal Gale. Keep watching Business Access Television, serious about business.
Michelle Chung, CEO and co-founder of Honey Bun in Jamaica, and you're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
take the guesswork out of improving your IT infrastructure. The field of IT changes so quickly that it can be hard to plan a strategy while keeping up with technological advancements. Yet, without a strategic roadmap built on data-driven insights, your staff can be overworked, spending excessive time putting out technical fires instead of focusing on strategic tasks that fulfill core business needs. Our IT consulting services are the first step towards transforming your enterprise IT and improving your business efficiency. Our experts have the industry experience and best-in-class tools to methodically assess your entire support operation. We look at your IT support services holistically, identifying improvement areas that will have the greatest impact on employee productivity, service levels, and customer satisfaction. Need help improving your infrastructure uptime? Contact us to discuss a solution that will provide you greater productivity and efficiency. Email info@dodgen.global. Website https://dodgen.global.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
I do have a dream, and I know you have a dream, that we can make Jamaica the place of choice for you to choose to live, to work, to do business.
We are going for the Jamaica we want. Making steady progress to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in our National Development Plan, Vision 2030 Jamaica. We have teamed up with valued partners, working through strong institutions to reduce inequalities in our society. We commit to being responsible in our production and consumption, ensuring we build sustainable communities in harmony with nature. Jamaica is making significant strides in providing quality, lifelong education for all, enabling our people to be engaged in decent work to drive economic growth, equipping men and women with the skills to build resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industry, foster innovation, and utilize new technologies. Urgent action is being taken to manage natural resources responsibly, protecting clean water sources, ensuring access to water and sanitation for all, diversifying to alternative energy sources, conserving our environment, and sustaining life below water and on land. Jamaica is making moves to ensure healthy lifestyles for the well-being of our people. We're promoting sustainable agriculture to achieve food security, improve nutrition, and end extreme hunger, putting in the work to end poverty in all its forms. We're on track in achieving our Sustainable Development Goals through realizing our Vision 2030 Jamaica. We will leave no one behind.
And I'm chilling right now, cause we're winning right now.
My name is Levon Flynn, and you're watching Business Access TV. Serious about business.
Since the dawn of human existence, men have entered the water to collect food, so it's impossible to trace the exact date or origin of diving. We do know from artifacts that the people of Mesopotamia engaged in diving as a form of commerce, usually collecting pearl oysters as long as 4,500 years ago. For centuries, inventors worked on various equipment and techniques of breathing underwater, mainly for food and warfare. But it wasn't until the 1940s that the world-famous Jacques Cousteau and engineer Émile Gagnon were successful in creating a rebreathing device that actually worked. In 1966, John Cronin and Ralph Erickson both felt there needed to be a professional organization that made it easy for anybody to become a skilled and confident diver. They teamed up to create the Professional Association of Diving Instructors, or PADI, as most people know it. Since then, PADI has issued millions of scuba certifications worldwide, and this week it is the career to learn so much more about on Career Moves.
I am Sharon Robinson, and I am a PADI open water scuba instructor. A PADI open water scuba instructor is a diver who would have gone through a series of training and development programs that would have gotten them to the point of being able to instruct new divers. I grew up in Savannah Lamar, Westmoreland, which is really close to Negril, about 20 minutes outside of Negril. My mother is from Negril, and most of my immediate and extended family. So as a young boy growing up in that area, going to the beach regularly, just always had a knack for the sea. Been cliff diving and swimming since I was probably 3 or 4 years old.
So how did this innocent hobby translate into a career? Sharon traces his steps from the days of high school, highlighting how plans do change.
I went to the Manning School. Yes. I actually studied the technical group areas. So it had absolutely nothing to do with aquatics or scuba or water sports. I then went to the Montego Bay Community College to study architectural technology as well. But it was through working through the holidays back home in Negril, I got my first job at the Marinas Negril Beach Club. I was actually working in entertainment there at the time, but was exposed to everything. And of course, naturally, I gravitated toward the sea. There was a small dive center there called the Negril Scuba Center, which was owned and operated by the general manager of the hotel at the time. And then my interest from there just grew from doing snorkeling and free diving, and then eventually got me into scuba. Now, I would have these groups that would do orientations, and we would do walkarounds of the hotel for them to be abreast of everything that was available to them. I read a lot, so I grabbed every fact sheet available and just bombarded them with all this information. At the end of these groups, I'd have quite a few persons along with me asking me where can I get signed up for this, that, or the other. And so I would take the respective groups to the manager or a personnel of the department that they had the interest. And so I had groups of persons wanting to either sign up to dive if they were already certified, or sign up to get certified if they weren't already so. And one day the water sports manager there grabbed me and just asked me if I was a diver, and I told him no. He asked me how I knew so much about it. I said I read it. He said, well, you have the theory down, might as well get the practical in. And I tried what they call the Discover Scuba Diving program back in 2006, and just never looked back from there. Every day I wake up, if the weather is good, it's a great day because I get to go diving. When the weather is poor, then I'm angry because There's no diving.
Let's say on a particular day the weather is perfect. What would the duties of a diver entail?
Day in the life of a dive instructor. I get to work. I ensure that everything is intact. You have to deal with all the logistics, all the equipment, and then you have the people factor. So getting in, you're going to check the boats, ensure that they're ready, they have gas. Check the equipment, that they are clean, that they're all working, and then you're looking at your dive roster and you have to go through all the paperwork. If I have student divers who need to come in, then I review their paperwork with them, correct any errors, and go through any questions that they may have in regard to said paperwork. From there, we're looking at doing the videos, going through the knowledge reviews that follow, and then going into the pool for confined water training. Once they've successfully completed that, then we matriculate into the ocean. You can experience diving in a day, but getting certified at a minimum would be 2 days, and it depends on the level of certification. Afterward, we have to deal with all the little things that make my work work. So cleaning and stowing equipment, refueling boats, filling air cylinders, little things like that.
Nowadays, diving in Jamaica is mainly resort-based. Despite that, Sharon says it's still a viable career option, and once you get qualified, there are many areas to find work.
Gone are the days when widespread it would have been a dive operator acting as a supplier to a hotel. Now hotels provide their own. Getting into diving as a career here, you would need to be at least a dive master, which is the first professional member rating of a diver. And in order to get there, then there's a series of other certifications that you must have completed. As an instructor, which is the level up from a dive master, you have the opportunity of then training people to become divers. Mainly resort-based, but also this opens a whole new gateway to you. You can work in commercial diving, which could see you doing underwater construction as it relates to welding. You could also work as a rescue diver and not necessarily in Jamaica. I don't see that happening here, but with the fire department, there is a dive team that does rescue, search, rescue, and recovery. You have a lot of areas where there are expats, like in the Caymans. Like Jamaica, there are not a lot of locals in Cayman that get involved in the dive industry. And so there are always these openings for expats to come and work. You can also work in the cruise line industry where they have what they call destination diving. So an instructor and dive master can work aboard the ship, and as you go to your different stops, then you are able to dive in these different areas as well. And if you are looking to get into diving professionally, then there are many companies that offer internships that prepare you to become a dive professional. There is no amateur diver. You are either a diver or you're not a diver.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
We are serious about the business of real estate, so catch Home Sweet Home Sundays at 4:30 p.m. or if you missed it, check our website at batvja.com.
Sharon Robinson is not only a diver, but plays a role as a certified dive instructor, which allows him to teach at the resort where he's employed. He tells us how to get started.
With PADI, there are 2 entry-level diver certifications. The first is open water, which is basic scuba skills for you to dive independently. However, if you don't want to dive independently, or if you are restricted by time to get the certification done, or cost of the course to complete it if you're working on a budget, then there is a lesser course called the Scuba Diver Certification, which allows you to have a certificate or a license to dive, however, always under supervision of a professional as opposed to open water, which allows you to dive independently. Receiving a guest, one of the first things I'm looking for is the telltale signs of how much I have to work with this individual, how difficult or how easy it will be to complete this course with them, and then matriculate through the steps. The only thing you need is to be able to swim 200 yards. You have to do a float or tread of 10 minutes, and you have to be comfortable in water. Some of the most difficult things that prohibit divers would be claustrophobia, having the mask over eyes and nose. They may feel a little bit restricted and not comfortable. Costs vary based on the individual dive center or resort, based on their costs for their material and instruction versus their operational costs.
There is no set age to start learning how to dive. However, there is specific information the instructor must know before progressing.
Getting certified, first things first, is covering the paperwork. The PADI medical questionnaire must be completed. You should be able to respond no to all the questions that are there. If you have any positive response, then you must get your physician's approval before any in-water training begins. Once everything is fine with the paperwork, we have paid for our course, then we start with the classroom session, doing the video, going through the knowledge reviews with the instructor, and then going to the pool. The dives are broken down. There are 5 pool dives that you would do and 4 open water dives for the open water course. For scuba diver, then it would be 3 pool sessions and the 2 open water dives. Comfortably to complete the open water course, you can do that in 4 days. At a minimum, I would want to complete the open water diver course in 3 days. It is student-based, so it is all about your progression because it is about skill mastery. So there is no set time frame for you to complete it. There are different options for you to complete the course. You can do independent study with theory online, or you can have the material that you're going through the coursework with. And then you would come to the instructor who will go through the knowledge reviews with you, complete the examinations, and of course, the training.
Now that you know about certification, let's go through the stages of a recreational diver towards becoming a professional at the highest rank.
There is no amateur diver. You are either a diver or you're not a diver. I've had divers come before and say, "Oh, I'm only open water certified." I said, then congratulations, you are an open water diver. Now, progressing from open water, which is the first level of scuba diving certification with PADI, you move to doing an adventure diver or an advanced open water diver course. The adventure diver is a lesser part of the advanced open water diver course, similar to how the scuba diver is a lesser certification to the open water course. The advanced open water diver would have completed 5 adventure dives. Adventure dives include doing deep dives, navigation, these are the 2 mandatory dives. You have wreck diver, night diver, drift diver, boat diver, and an array of others that you could do. depending, of course, on your geographical location. Here in Jamaica, we would not do ice diver, for example. For adventure diver, you would only need to complete 3 of these. Moving from advanced open water diver, your very next step would be going to the rescue diver course. The rescue diver course for me was the most tedious and most rewarding prior to me becoming an instructor. I really enjoyed the rescue diver course. It's a bit more hands-on, helps you to identify problems that may occur and manage and prevent them. It also makes you a bit more confident as a diver where you can be called upon to assist in the event that something should go amiss. So moving on from rescue diver, it goes in conjunction with doing the emergency first response course. This also is something I probably should have mentioned in regards to what you could do as viable career fields from becoming a dive professional. The emergency first response EFR course is done in conjunction with the rescue diver course, and then immediately from there you would go to doing a dive master course, or its lesser course, which is a master scuba diver. So PADI gives you options in everything. Again, to start from the beginning, you can do either the scuba diver or the open water diver course. Then you can go to adventure diver or the advanced open water diver course. The rescue diver and EFR are in conjunction. There is no lesser or between of that course. Then from rescue diver, you can become a master scuba diver, or you can go ahead and do the dive master course. Now, the master scuba diver is the highest non-professional rating one can attain as far as PADI is concerned. And the dive master is the first professional member rating that you receive through PADI. A dive master would then move on to become an open water scuba instructor, or they may do the assistant instructor course. From open water scuba instructor, then you can become a master scuba diver trainer, where you are an instructor in at least 5 specialty areas of diving. And then from master scuba diver trainer, you move up to becoming an IDC staff instructor. From IDC staff instructor, then you would move to becoming a master instructor, and from master instructor to course director. Most professions persons are expected at 65 to retire. There is no such thing for diving. It depends on the individual, how well you maintain your own physical health, how good your mental faculties are, and just how much you can keep abreast of everything happening in the industry.
Internal audit. Internal audit service is vital when organizations aim to achieve reliable financial reports and regulatory compliance, navigating risks, streamlining operations, and promoting stakeholder confidence. The benefits of a high-quality internal audit are limitless, especially when you secure yours from a firm with deep industry experience, exposure to hundreds of organizations, dedicated professionals, and proven methodologies. Whether you're looking to establish an internal audit function, attain or maintain compliance with various regulations, mitigate your risk of fraud, or gain an overall assessment of your internal controls, you can count on Dodge & Global for reliable and timely business solutions. We've helped organizations nationwide and across industries to establish internal control structures, create an internal audit function, or improve an existing one, and maintain regulatory compliance. We provide ongoing education as regulations and public perceptions change. We are trusted advisors for management and boards. External auditors can be confident in our work and its results. Let Dodge & Global be a turnkey solution for your organization. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email info@dodgen.global. Website https://dodgen.global.
Working by the sea has its unique challenges, risks, and misconceptions. Let's hear what kinds divers encounter.
Saltwater corrodes practically everything, so you have to constantly be cleaning. There are other challenges as it relates to logistics in terms of having everything in place, having your oxygen unit filled and getting it clean and having it prepared always, checking and rechecking, and also working with different personalities as well is very challenging. A lot of times you're having to work with just what's available because there are not that very many people in this profession in Jamaica. Your boat captains, for example, dealing with the logistics and dealing with the wind, and again the people factor. A diver may come and have all this experience and feel like they know everything, but then they have not gone diving in your environment. And though you know better, they will always try to override you by saying, yes, I'm a rescue diver, which would have been impressive if only I had this experience with you. So it's always about starting easy and progressing to the more challenging things where someone might come and want to just dive right in. If you properly inspect and clean and maintain your equipment, then they should not get damaged. Very rarely would they ever. And then there are stipulations as well. There's annual inspections, and then there are times when you have to have an equipment specialist look at all your equipment. Even as far as our air cylinders go, annual inspection visual, and then within every 5 years it must be hydrostatically tested by the professionals. So everything must be up to par. Scuba diving has risks, but you manage these risks by following simple safety procedures and rules associated with diving. And that is why you have instructors trained through the IDC with a course director to manage these risks and to anticipate them. Scuba diving is very fun and very safe once you follow these simple rules and procedures. Never hold your breath. No horseplay. Listen to your instructor. Monitor your air. Little things. I have faced a situation before where I had a student diver who could not physically take a breath underwater. The minute their head went underwater, their brain tells them this cannot work, and they would not take a breath for anything. It's definitely on an individual basis. You will have a student diver who comes, gets immersed, gets everything right, one shot, flawless. And then you'll have another that you'll have to pretty much babysit the whole way through. You have to hold their hands, you have to look into their eyes, you have to motivate them every step of the way. Diving is definitely not for someone who does not enjoy the water. You may be out at sea for hours at a time, you might be in water doing training for hours at a time, day after day. You have to really love it. You cannot have a fear of aquatic life, and you also can't have these misconceptions about being eaten by sharks. Some of the things I hear are crazy. Your hair is going to turn red. Your hair is going to rot from the salt water. Sharks are going to eat you. Stingrays are going to barb you in the heart. You know, all these little things, you know, that people see. Oh, you'll get the bends. And a lot of times too, they're not very far-fetched. But again, it comes down to your attitude toward diving. Whether you're going to take the training and develop yourself and your skills as a diver and do it properly. Follow the simple safety rules and procedures, and diving is all fun. For the most part, the marine life does not care for you. If you don't motion toward them, they generally will ignore a diver. Outside of that, the physical breakdown, because it does take its toll on you. You have to get proper rest, you have to eat right, you have to exercise. Diving is not just an activity, it is a lifestyle. And you'll find that persons who dive tend to stick around persons who dive as well.
As it relates to compensation, Sharon says he cannot speak to divers in other fields, but here's that of most who work in the hotel industry.
We do get paid above the average staff member at a hotel. Our salary is fair. And then you also earn a commission based on the divers you take and also the students that you teach. So there's a salary base and there's a commission base. And if you are in such a hotel where tipping is allowed, then you can also make tips. And this is where your personality comes into play as to how much you can earn and take home. Because people tend to tip based on the service they receive. So if you've gone above and beyond and have been far exceptional, then you can expect to be rewarded handsomely. If you're just so-so, you follow everything to the T, but you're not as engaging and as interactive with the people, then they may compensate you, yes, but not as much as they would have if you had just taken it a little step further. A diver can make between 650,000 to $1.3 million annually, plus commissions and gratuities, etc. Incentives are individual and from the hotel standpoint. So yes, you can receive day passes, you can receive day and evening passes, for example, or they incentivize things based on a TripAdvisor comment that makes the hotel look good. Then you can get weekends and little things like that. But again, it all comes down to what you put into it, that you receive out of it. There is no true formal education that takes you to diving. Anyone from any field can get into diving. I've seen people who have worked for years in other careers and then looked at diving as their retirement plan. So someone can start from the ground and say, I am young and I want to have a long, long career in diving, or someone might have been doing a different career altogether, might have been diving recreationally, or might just have had the interest in diving and then decided, I want to make the transition from an accountant or a journalist or a fireman, and then move over to doing diving as their retirement job. Most professions, persons are expected at 65 to retire. There is no such thing for diving. It depends on the individual, how well you maintain your own physical health, how good your mental faculties are, and just how much you can keep abreast of everything happening in the industry. Because I've known divers who've gotten out of it at age 35, and I know people who are over 80 and still diving.
Many believe that the dive industry is unpopular in Jamaica. However, Sharon speaks of his optimism for what the future holds in the career.
I don't have that view at all. It again comes down to individuals. Yes, exposure is good, and I think that it's picking up traction now, and more people are becoming aware of scuba diving, and it's due to programs like Career Moves that expose these lesser known career fields to the Jamaican public. But now I think it's picking up traction with individuals like myself who are younger and more forward thinking, and with the advent of the internet, with the YouTubes and the Facebook, which people can now share information more readily. We don't have very dangerous animals. We don't get the great whites. We don't get big makos and these very aggressive sharks that we have to worry about. So it's always fun having these interactions with people who see the Facebook posts and start asking questions. And I've even had quite a few of my own friends come and then try diving with me, which probably would not have been something they would have done usually. So I think that's changing, and we must remember too that Jamaica is a fairly young country at 54. PADI as an organization is 50 years old, and diving was well before. When you look back to the times of a Jacques Cousteau, who is one of the leading pioneers of scuba diving. They're French and Italian, and these countries are far well established well before Jamaica became an independent nation. So a lot of things that are happening, it just takes time.
My name is Herbert Chung, Executive Chairman, Co-Founder, Honeybun 1982 Limited. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Last week on The Good Life, Deborah Williams told her story of beating breast cancer through alternative treatment. A main part of this treatment was a complete change of her diet. Deborah is now a medical missionary and a lifestyle educator who helps many people to achieve optimum health. One such person is the owner of Natural Choice Health Food Store.
My name is Ryan Campbell, founder and managing director of Natural Choice Health Food Store. About 3 to 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I was on the medication, the daily medication regimen, and after a while I realized that I started feeling joint pain, young man like me in my 30s feeling joint pain. Been to the doctor over and over for the joint pain, and the doctor said to me it's a relapse of chikungunya and all sorts of different things. He gave me quite a number of different medication to take. I've been taking the medication, no effect whatsoever. So, after going to the doctor over and over again for the joint pain, it's getting more and more excruciating. I have known Deborah for quite a while, and I reached out to her and I touched base with her to say, I've been diagnosed with diabetes, and she gave me a telephone beating that day. Why did you take so long to call me and all of this? And I went through the beating. She said to me that we need to reverse this thing. We're gonna do it in like 30 days. I said 30 days. Well, anything you say in 30 days, I can subject myself to it to try and get it done, because I want to lose diabetes. I said, all right. She sent me some email and she sent me the details as to what I need to do. And looking through the program, realized I need to lose meat and our entire lifestyle change. I wanted to be healthy, and as such, I did the lifestyle change. I made the change. I lose the meat. I started exercising. I'm supposed to exercising, and the first thing I noticed is that within 30 days I lost 30 pounds. Right? Lose 30 pounds in 30 days, and I realized that without medication at all, my blood sugar level was now under control. No medication whatsoever. When I went to the health food store to actually purchase the items, it was so expensive. I really I started to wonder, when you said to somebody to go on a natural path or to go on a health path, if this is the cost, then what the result is going to be, right? And as such, that is where Natural Choice Health Food Store come from, because I wanted to, when you say to somebody, start eating healthy, or take a healthy path, or you can live a disease-free life, then it can be affordable. And as such, we try to actually make the products very affordable, and that's where the birth of it comes from. The truth is that health food products are products that actually give real effect or provide you with real effect. A lot of time we take medication and the side effects alone of the medication actually kill you, right? More than the ailment that you have itself. But what you find is that with organic stuff, a lot of health food products are, they're made from organic stuff. And what you find is that organic stuff will be more expensive than regular stuff. So if you should buy flour, general flour, normal whole wheat flour in comparison to organic whole wheat flour, then the price is significantly different. Initially, when I just started to purchase health food, right, and I was, it was costing me so much money to purchase from the other stores, I started to look on the international market to see what are the costs for these things on the international market. When I compared the price internationally and what it is being sold for locally, the disparity was too far, right? And as such, you realize that maybe persons were marking up 200-300% when you look on the international market, right? Well, a lot of persons, although they know that the healthier way is better, they're not making that choice is because of affordability, right? And as such, that is where Natural Choice Health Food Store comes in, right? Our slogan is healthy living the affordable way, because the store was created on the premise to make healthy living more affordable to every Jamaicans, right? Because, as I said earlier, prompting somebody or telling them to go on a healthful path or to change a lifestyle to a healthy lifestyle without them being able to afford it doesn't really make much sense. And as such, we're able to provide health food, provide the supplements that are required for a healthy lifestyle at a much, much more cost-effective, a much cheaper way. As you would have seen on the landscape, there are more and more health food stores opening up, because a lot of persons these days are becoming very conscious about their health. Realize that the road of doctor, you go to doctor one time, you can't stop going after that, right? And you find that you're going over and over for the same things, and you can't get rid of whatever ailment you have, right? So they're not actually fighting the disease from the root, they're actually dealing with the symptoms of the disease. And as such, you find that a lot of persons are making a lifestyle change. And when you make a lifestyle change, it means that you actually need to eat differently. You need to eat the type of food that your body actually responds to, that your body actually needs, more than just eating for fulfillment.
One of our popular shake that is on our menu is called the Natural Choice Power Punch. It consists of almond milk, banana, papaya, pineapple, whole grain rolled oats, whey protein, 100% whey protein powder, spirulina, and ice to give it that chill. This is a meal, and you also get a lot of energy from this. This is our popular shake on our menu board here.
The juice bar aspect of it was, we're putting this bar to provide a place, not just vegan, but a healthy hut, place where you can eat healthy. You have many juice bars around town. You have many places that sell juice and salad and all of that. but none that really specialize in vegan, none that specialize in healthy eating. So yes, you get a wrap or you get a salad, but what flour was the wrap made from, right? And all of that. So therefore, the things that we sell here are the correct things that you're supposed to eat in a healthy diet. Spelled flour wrap, things like that. So therefore, the wraps that we sell, they're made from spelled flour. They're not made from white flour like other places, right? For the juices that we blend here, we don't mix the fruit and vegetable together because that's one of the first things. Fruit and vegetables should not be mixed together. And as such, we follow the laws of health in everything that we prepare here. And also it's closer to work because I work upstairs. Right? And as such, I can just come down and get something to eat. But amidst that is offering health food to people. And since we're hoping the entire Mullines Road and all of Kingston actually take onto it, right? Because that they find it much more fulfilling than just any other shake that they will purchase.
As Mr. Campbell mentioned, choosing to eat healthy does not have to be costly. When we come back, we take a look at some of what Natural Choice Food Store has to offer. And still to come, our feature on chia seed jams. Stay with us.
Creating change. Building a future. Caring hands. Giving back. Touching hearts and shaping lives. Impacting our world for the better.
Welcome back to The Good Life. We are looking at health food alternatives to achieve optimum health. Take a look at these selections.
Hi, my name is Crystal and I am Natural Choice Health Food Store Manager. I'm just going to take you through to some of our products, some of our popular products that our customers usually come in to get, and I'm going to explain a little about them as we go along. Okay, so let's go ahead. So we have our muesli here. This is from Bob's Red Mills. This actually has like oats, it has sunflower seeds, it has pumpkin seeds. With this, you can have it as a hot or a cold cereal. You can pour whichever milk of your choice, whether it's rice milk, almond milk, soy milk, any milk of your choice, and this is quite filling and healthy, full of fiber, full of protein. Then we have our acai roots juice here. This is made from our natural acai berries. Actually, this is one of the things that we use to make our acai bowl at the juice bar. From the acai fruit, it's actually rich in antioxidants. It gives a lot of energy, and it's also rich in vitamin C. This nourishes cells, and as I said before, it gives a lot of energy. So for persons who like to have a little sweet, we have some natural candies here that doesn't really have a lot of sugar in them. They're actually made from fruit juice concentrates, and they're different flavors. So we have a lemon flavor organic hard candies, and yes, it is organic, made from lemon juice concentrate, rice syrup, organic dried cane sugar, and also turmeric. We have the Citrus Grow Vitamin C drops. This is something like if you're having like a little sore throat, or you're coming down with something and you want to get some vitamin C in your system, this is something that you can snack on. Okay, we have our local, organic, all-natural honey. It's 100% pure honey, no sugar added to this. And this is very rich. From time to time, we also use this honey in our juice bar. Again, this is one of our popular products, fastest selling products. The price is also affordable. It's $2,000 per bottle, and this is inclusive of tax. We also have our wheatgrass powder. Again, this is considered one of your superfood. This helps to build your blood, it helps to nourish your cells, it promotes detoxification. This is raw and gluten-free. You can actually have this on its own with either purified water, or you can add it to your alkaline water, or you can add it to your smoothies and your shake. We have our herbal teas here for persons who are big on tea drinking. Sometimes they will come in and get our blood pressure tea, which has all natural ingredients in it, all natural herbs, and again, the price is affordable. So I have our quinoa grain here. This is the white quinoa grain. This can be used as an alternative for rice. You can also use quinoa to make porridge. Quinoa is rich in protein, it's rich in fiber, it's also gluten-free. So for persons who are going on gluten-free diets, for persons who are vegetarian or vegan, and also for persons who are staying away from rice itself, quinoa is a good alternative. We have our whole grain organic flour here. We have our spelt flour, which the spelt flour is considered to be one of the popular flour in terms of persons getting healthy. Even though it's not gluten-free, but for persons who are just venturing on the health path and they want to have things that taste like our regular wheat flour or white flour, the spelt flour is the best way to go. And the spelt is full of fiber, it's full of protein, and it's quite tasty as well. And it's organic. We also have our teff flour. The teff is considered to be one of the ancient grain. Again, this is high in fiber, it's high in protein, it's high in iron. With the teff flour, you can mix it with other flour to make dumpling, you can make other recipes with it. And we also carry the teff grain. With the teff grain, you can use that to make like porridge. So we have the teff flour. We also have our garbanzo bean flour. Again, this is a good source of fiber. This, you can use this in your baked products. You can use this to do quite a lot of different things. In your soup, you can use it to thicken soup, you can use it to make sauces or gravies, and this is gluten-free. So for persons who are gluten intolerant, garbanzo flour is a good flour alternative to use. We have our garbanzo beans here, which is used to make the garbanzo flour, and this is organic. We have our black eyed peas here. You can use black eyed peas to make rice and peas. You can use it to make soup. We also have one of our superfood here. It's called chia seed. It is considered to be one of the superfood. It is pretty much, it's share the same properties as flaxseed, but it's richer in nutrients than flaxseed. It has a higher amount of omegas. It has protein, you get fiber, you get calcium, and you also get antioxidants from chia seeds. Chia seeds is quite filling. You can add it to your shakes, you can add it to smoothies, you can add it to your juice, and you can also add it to other recipes. So we have chia seeds, quinoa, our wheatgrass powder, our blood pressure tea, our muesli, teff flour, garbanzo flour, our acai roots juice, or vitamin C candies, or spelt flour, garbanzo bean, and black eyed peas. Good stuff here.
If you have a special love for chia seeds and appreciate the benefits of this superfood, you won't want to miss what's coming up next. Stay with us.
Business Advisory. Realize greater growth and profitability. Navigating market changes can be challenging for any business. Our goal is to help you identify opportunities at any stage of your financial life cycle, ensuring you continue to meet your business needs in complex market environments. From startup through to expansion, tax advisory to accounting, Dodge & Global provides a multidisciplinary approach to managing the entirety of your affairs. We ensure your business remains profitable and competitive. You can expect practical advice, effective cost management, and a mutual respect for your goals and growth aspirations. Our commercial advice comes from extensive knowledge and experience working with a broad range of business and industry sectors. Dodge & Global can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email info@dodgen.global. Website https://dodgen.global.
Thanks for staying with us on The Good Life. We've just looked at healthy food options from Natural Choice Health Food Store. Now let's take a look at what Aisha Dawes-Allen is doing with chia seeds.
My name is Aisha Allen. I am the Managing Director of Ara Foods, and we make chia jams. So chia seeds are superfoods. They're little seeds that form on a flower. And when the flour dries, then you can remove the seeds. And they're called superfood for a reason, because they're loaded in vitamins, minerals, lots of benefits, almost 5 times more calcium than milk. They have more omega-3 than salmon. So they're basically loaded with benefits. I think the health movement is becoming a big thing in Jamaica. So people are now grabbing onto superfoods. So that's how, Chronix had the spirulina song. And so we have cheers coming up now. So we have us with a jam, and we're doing really well. And because people are gravitating towards a healthy movement, people are starting to understand now and really appreciate the benefits of coconut oil, for example. So I think it's getting there. Once they are aware of the benefits and realize that it's something that actually tastes good and it's not anything expensive, I think they'll gravitate, and it's gonna expand as the time goes on. Chia seeds on its own is not a miracle food. It's not gonna solve all your problems. Eating chia seeds alone is not gonna, make you lose weight. It's a contributing factor to weight loss, or it's a contributing factor to maybe helping with diabetes. So you do still need to monitor your food intake overall. It's not one cure-all, food. As much as it's a superfood, you still need to monitor your intake of other foods and your exercise and stress and all of those things combined. So I'm going to show you 3 easy healthy meals that you can prepare using chia seeds and chia seed jams. So the first thing we're going to make is overnight oats. So this is definitely good for somebody who is constantly on the go but trying to eat healthy. So you want to take some of your oats, place them in a jar. The best oats to use is steel cut oats. Those are the oats that haven't been stripped of their natural nutrients and vitamins and all that good stuff. So you place the oats in first, and you want to place the milk. I prefer using coconut milk because of the flavor, but if you don't have the time, almond milk. So you pour the milk until it lines up with the oats, and then you can add whatever you want. So I'm going to add some sunflower seeds. A little. You don't want to overdo the seeds. Sunflower seeds are good for heart health, thyroid, and it's a powerful antioxidant as well. So I'm adding some pumpkin seeds. which have omega-3s, and those are good for postmenopausal symptoms. Pumpkin seeds are good for the prostate, and they're also a powerful antioxidant as well. So I added that to the top. Then we can add some chia jam. So you can add, depending on what your intake should be, you can add about a tablespoon. Spread it at the top. And if you like, you can add a little bit of fruits. So you don't want to add too much because you do need to, be mindful of your sugar intake. Even though fruits are a natural sugar, it's still sweet, it's still a sugar, so you still need to be mindful of it. And leave it in the fridge overnight and you'll be ready to eat in the morning. Alright, so we're on to our second snack. This is Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is high in protein and high in calcium, so sometimes persons after working out, we tend to recommend the plain yogurt because it doesn't have too much sugar in it. So just to add a little flair, a little fruits to it, we normally add a tablespoon of the blueberry jam, but really you can use any flavor, whichever flavor you prefer, and you just add a tablespoon. So now this meal is high in protein, high in calcium, and it also has fiber because of the blueberries and because of the chia seeds. And blueberries, we might add, is very high in antioxidants. It's again very great for your skin, your hair, and so forth. And just for a little added benefits, you can sprinkle a little chia seed on top. And that's it. So our final meal is pancakes. So kids really love pancakes, and this is actually one of the meals that our customers pair jams with the most. So we're gonna show you, instead of using maple syrup, which is very high in sugar, we're gonna use a jam instead, and then add a little bit of pineapple topping to it as well. So we have the pancakes here. Normally we recommend protein pancakes or even banana pancakes. All right, so we're gonna add a tablespoon of our pineapple chia jam. And then these pineapples we've warmed up a little bit just to get the juices flowing and the flavor up. So you just sprinkle a little on top. Okay. And again, if you want, you can add a little chia seed at the top just to give it a little bit more nutrition. Let's give it a taste. This is my favorite flavor, pineapple. So that's it. I just showed you 3 easy meals to prepare using chia seeds and our chia jam.
Whether you choose to get your food from a health food store, the market, or eating what you grow, you have a chance to make it a healthier and tastier one based on tips highlighted in this episode. I hope you have enjoyed The Good Life.
This week on Home Sweet Home, we go around Jamaica to visit a few of our most historical homes, each with their own little story. Our first stop, let's find out.
Your business matters. Business Access TV effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Trade and investment potential. I'm Elon Parkinson. Let's take a look at the highlights.
One of the things that I realize is that having these forums, it provides us with an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to improve. And all members should give your organization a round of applause. Put your hands together for it. For weeks, I was talking about business unusual. For weeks, that was the last one on the economy that you guys had. And I was in cocktail conversation sounding smarter than I am just by virtue of having been in the room. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. I'm going to apologize for the National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Chang. He did intend to be here, but he was called at the last minute to Parliament. I believe he has a parliamentary committee that he must be at, so they've summoned him. You know, the numbers are important in these committees to make quorum and to participate in discussions at Gordon House, so he won't be with us today. The DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn, is here. Thank you very much for being here with us today, as is Dirk Harrison, the acting head of the Corruption Prosecution Division at the Integrity Commission. Always glad to have Professor Anthony Clayton,